Hello and welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about pressuring time and space. And mostly that means taking away time and space, but sometimes it means giving more time and space than somebody wants. Um, so I'll start you with a quick story. I had a junior that I was coaching, and his father, uh, Romanian family, um, asked me to coach him pretty, intensely for a year. So we did this. We spent 2 hours a day, 3 days a week, hitting and training and all that good stuff. So, um, and I really enjoyed this kid, but he was a little bit stubborn. So, had the classic Eastern European, you know, manly man, even at 13 years old. So anyway, so he and I would hit, and I would actually hit in a way that made it so that we were pretty even, so I could keep him at a challenge level without wrecking his confidence. So we would hit, and everything would be even, and I would try not to do too much with my shots, just to keep him right at the edge. But then what I would do is I would be maybe 2 or 3 feet behind the baseline, and then all of a sudden, I would hit a shot, and then I would step forward 2 or 3 feet. I would just take 2 or 3 steps, and then just take that next ball a little bit earlier. I mean, of course, unless of course that ball, pushed me back, but very rarely could he really push me back. But I would just take that ball a little bit earlier, and it would change the rally a little bit. I took a little bit of time and space away from him. And then he would often make mistakes, and I would continue to do that. And I knew that if I tried to explain it to him early, that he wasn't really going to listen to me. So I just kept doing this, and I would ask him, well, why did you make a mistake there? And then he would say something about his strokes, or that he wasn't being consistent, or something like that. And so I let this go on for a little while. And I'm like, well, you think it's you? You think the problem is all on your side? And this is really important, right? People do this. They think that if they make a mistake, that it's all on their side. There's something wrong with them. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. Instead of, analyzing, what is the opponent doing to me? What are they doing? What was it about their shot that was difficult? So I continued on with this, and was able to regularly get errors out of him on these shots. And then finally I said, now, did you notice that I'm doing anything different? So just watch what happens. So I'd hit 1, 2, 3 shots. Then on the fourth shot I come in and step in a little bit and do that. And then and so I'm like, well, are you noticing anything? So finally he was really frustrated, and he was just ready for the answer. So I let him know, look, all I'm really doing is just taking away some time from you. Now, there's an interesting effect. So let's say you're taking the ball here. All right. So then the ball has to travel to the racket, but it also has to travel back. But if you take the ball here, then it doesn't travel there and back, it starts there. So there's a cumulative effect of taking the ball early. You're not just saving the time one way, you're saving the time the other way too. Or you're saving it for yourself, taking it away from the other person. So that, in a nutshell, that's the simplest way that you can take away time and space from someone. Now, the best example right now is probably Federer, but you'll see that the bigger players are generally going to have to play closer to the baseline to take away time and space from the other player, because once they start moving back, now the movement of the game is a lot more difficult. So take away time and space by just playing a little bit closer. Now you can play closer all the time, or you can rally a little bit, and then, maybe, do your serve and your +1 shot. It's pretty tough to get to stand way in on a +1 shot. But as soon as you read that you're getting a shorter ball, get in there, jump in there, take advantage of that. This is one thing that where there's a dividing line between good and great players. And the good players will probably rally more shots, whereas great players will seize opportunities to attack by moving into the court. So, I forget who said this, but they said aggression isn't hitting hard, it's moving forward. So everything gets better as long as, if you're moving forward, as long as you can competently make the shot. If it's causing you to make more errors, then that's a bad thing. So part of what you're going to have to do is train the skills of taking the ball a little bit earlier. Now, one thing I never say take the ball on the rise. And the reason I never say take the ball on the rise is because I think very few players are actually capable of doing that well enough to not make mistakes. And when you look at people who are supposedly hitting the ball on the rise and you look at the video, what you're probably going to find is the ball has reached its peak or maybe even fallen down some. So it's rising, it's rising, it's rising. It's not rising. It's not rising. And I think it's actually smarter to take the ball at the top or slightly after the top of the bounce. And you show me. Here's a challenge. You take a video. I've challenged people this way a lot. You take a video of you or someone else hitting on the rise, and let's see what that looks like. One time, somebody sent me a video of Rios playing Agassi, and it was supposed to be to refute what I was saying. That they were both hitting on the rise on every ball. And so I looked at it and I played it in slow motion and I put it in a drawing app. And then I showed that actually there was, out of all these balls that they said they were always hitting on the rise, there were maybe one or two. And one of them was ill-advised. So it's an interesting thing. So yes, coming forward to take the ball earlier, that's a great thing. Taking it pretty close to the top of the bounce, it's more risky. Taking it truly on the rise, even more risky. But it does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, right? So, I mean, some of those amazing Federer shots from his prime where he was taking balls off his ankles and hitting 90-mile-an-hour winners to the corners. That's just genius stuff, but it's not for everybody. I mean, not everybody's Federer. Hello, right? So, all right. So that's the simplest way to put your opponent under the pressure of time and space. The next best way is to come to the net. And, obviously that's going to take away a lot more time and space. So if you're playing closer to the net to begin with, and or you're more ready to move forward on shots, then it is not a difficult transition to come to the net. But if you're counter punching baseliner, standing 5 feet behind the baseline, ready to scramble in every direction but forward, then it's going to be more difficult. So part of it is mindset. Part of it is you kind of have to have this charging forward mentality. But, when you come to the net, obviously, the court is 78 feet long. And if you get within 10 feet of the net, which is 9 or 10 feet of the net, which is the ideal volleying position, then you're only giving the opponent 48 feet. I mean, if they hit it to you, their ball gets to you in 48 feet, which is, a little more than half, right? Slightly less than two-thirds, right? And so then that ball, like we said, if you're hitting it here, that's one thing. If you're hitting it there, that's one thing. But if you're hitting it all the way up there, that's a completely different thing. And you take away lots of time. And you can hit a lot more winners up there, obviously, because you're going to have more open court opportunities. The other cool thing about coming forward is that bad volleys win points, but bad ground strokes don't. So you come up close and, oh no, you framed it, but it just barely makes it over the net and you win the point. That is kind of funny, so you're up there and you win. So that's the second most important way to do that. Another way that you can pressure time and space is that you can move the player to a certain part of the court and then you can hit at them. So, when you hit the ball away from your opponent, then they move to it and they have more time because it's going that way and they're moving away and there's more time there. But when you hit right at them, then the ball arrives sooner. And the deeper you hit it, the faster it will arrive. Because once the ball hits the ground, it starts to slow down considerably. But so you could hit a 55-mile-an-hour shot that lands 3 feet from the baseline, and it will arrive faster than a 65-mile-an-hour shot that lands at the service line. Because that ball it slows down so much at the bounce and slows down even more before it gets to the baseline. And this happens a lot. People get fooled by a ball that doesn't look like it's traveling that fast, but because it was hit deep, it arrives sooner. Right now, the ultimate takeaway time and space play is to serve and volley because, not only did you take away time and space, but you also required your opponent to hit a great shot right now. Their return has to be a good shot. They don't get to play a return safely anywhere in the court. They've got to try to get their return, low and maybe close to the line. That would be the smartest thing for them to do, low and close to the line, or they might have to lob up over you. So you put a demand on them now, right? Time and space now, do it now, instead of, make a safe return, rally around, try to neutralize and change the momentum of the point. You don't give them that luxury. All right. Now, giving them more time may or may not be a successful ploy. At the lower levels, it can be because players at the the 3-5 and below level, sometimes they get very impatient when the ball goes higher and bounces really high, and then they have all this time to think and make a shot. That could be a real problem. The other thing is if you play a little bit further back, the ball takes longer to get to you. So you're actually taking speed away from their shot. And then, so if you're playing a power player and you want to change the time and space, then you can stand further back, let their ball slow down more, have a better look at it, and then you can use their pace, and then you can maybe come forward a little bit and move back and change that time and space, because what the power player needs is to be able to time their shots. And if you can change that, that makes things difficult. So, I mean, Nadal has spent so much time so far behind the baseline, and Medvedev, he also does that. So So, and then when you hit the ball really high up in the air, it takes much longer to get there, and it can play on the patience of the other player. Now, the other thing too is that you could throw in the occasional drop shot. So then all of a sudden, they have to run a greater distance. So they have this dual thing of more time because it takes all that time to run up there. But then also, the pressure of they have to get up there and make a good shot. And so they've got to be thinking about where are they going to hit this. So some well-timed drop shots can really make a big difference in the time and space game. And then another funny thing, and who did this? Somebody hit lots of Djokovic when he beat Nadal at the it was that at the French, I think it was. Oh my goodness, and he drop shotted him a lot. So then he drop shotted him 20 times. And so then Nadal had to come forward some because he had to respect the drop shot. So that took time and space away from Nadal. So when you mix in the drop shots, you also bring them closer. And then sometimes what you can do is you can drop shot and lob them. So then you're doubling it by giving them more space and more time and more pressure going the other way. Or you can drop shot and pass them, and every once in a while you can drop shot and hit right at them, and that could be pretty intimidating. So a nice firm shot right at their hip while they're trying to bail out, that could be really tricky and pop their bubble, so to speak. So I'd love to hear your comments. Do you have some great ways to pressure time and space? I just thought of one more. When you slice low and you get that ball to stay low and it really skids, you get the player to get down low. And then because their loading is going to take a lot of energy, then it's more difficult for them to pop up and run to the next ball. So that's another great time and space move. And that's something that Federer has done a lot, especially to heavy topspin players with Western grips. So a nice little slicing shot low, right? Gets them all compressed in one spot. Hitting at them kind of cages them, makes it hard for them to move for the next shot. All of those things work in pressuring time and space. But I want to hear what you think. If you have an idea about how to pressure time and space that I didn't come up with. So this was third in a series. So we did the power player. We did the power player. We did the retrieving baseliner. And now we just did the pressure time and space. So next what we're going to do is we're going to do the pressure movement player. And then finally we'll wrap up with the disruptive player. So go ahead and spend your social digital currency, right? You got your finger, press like, subscribe. Go to my YouTube. Go to brainsports.coach and subscribe to my blog. I'm putting something new there, probably 20 times a month. And every once in a while, I get lazy or I get busy or whatever. And no, lazy's never the reason, but sometimes I just get too busy to post a blog. But anyway, this is Tennis Strategy 201. I'm in the final stages of editing Tennis Strategy 101. It's going to be out soon. Probably, I hope by tomorrow I will put a pre-order date on that book. Yeah, that's my goal, tomorrow. So tomorrow I will be announcing the pre-order date for the ebook of Tennis Strategy 101. Thanks for watching. The two of you who are out there, please leave a comment. And if you have a question or something to add, I'd love to hear it. But have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. All right.